This is the World Innovators Podcast with your host, Donna Peterson.
Today, I am so excited to be talking with Janet Granger. And the reason why I'm so excited is because she is going to give us some insights from her experience in marketing that spans over 25 years. And she is an author, she is a speaker, and she is the founder of Marketing Career Mentor. And I am all about mentoring, and that's why I'm so excited about this conversation with her today. But before we get started, my name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the World Innovators Podcast, where I talk to marketing executives and business owners all over the world about what marketing is working, what's not working, or what industry trends we all should be paying attention to. But let's jump in. Hello, Janet. How are you today?
I am well and so excited to be here talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, please. Like I said, mentoring is something that is very dear to my heart, and I'm sure we'll dive into that. And of course, marketing is. So there we go. We've got two very important things in common. So I have a few questions I wanted to ask you based on your knowledge in the marketing industry. And the first one has to do with business to business companies. Do the individuals at the companies buy based on emotion?
Yes. So you teed me up well. Thank you. The answer is yes. And the reason I say that is a few years ago, I was putting together a presentation and doing some research on it. I like to research things and kind of do new things with every presentation. And I would say this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I came across this information that back in 2011, I think it was, a neurologist, very famous now neurologist, was doing a study with patients who had had brain damage to the part of the brain where our emotions are. There's a certain part of the brain where emotions are. And sort of by happenstance, he discovered that whoever had brain damage in that emotional part of the brain couldn't make decisions. They'd lost their decision-making faculties. So if you think about that, whether it's B2B or B2C, honestly, most of us don't even realize that we are making decisions based on our emotions. Now, some people are more analytical than others, some people are more emotionally driven than others. But the bottom line is, people will say things like, well, I had a hunch, or I had a feeling, or it felt like the right thing to do, because language isn't in that part of the brain, unfortunately, just decision-making and emotions. And it's really important, I've been in B2B, I've been in both B2C and B2B marketing, B2B for probably the last 15 years. And it's important to remember that the person that you're selling to is actually a person.
Yeah.
So, as much as you're selling to a company, and yeah, that means you might have to do with procurement, depending on the size of the company, right? So how many people are involved in the decision-making process. They're still people. And so as people, you want to make sure that, there's a sense of trust, right? Trust is really important when it comes to decision-making processes. And, the classic, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And that trust factor is so important because that's an emotion. Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel like this is the right thing? And that old adage, nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM kind of thing. It's like they want to feel secure. Yeah. They want to feel like they're not taking a risk. And so all those emotions come into play. And I think that if you're in the B2B space, you need to be focusing on those emotions, engendering trust, taking away fear and of risk and all that stuff. So that was a very long-winded way of answering your question.
But I totally agree with you. And I know you've looked at our website where I'm saying now relationship building is the new marketing. And I have to educate my clients all the time on this because I'm heavily in the B2B space and on the industrial side. And some of them still have that, like, no, it's just about our product and let's just promote the product. And I'm like, no, we got to try to build more of a relationship with the prospect to build the trust so that they buy from you, but they buy from you year after year.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I was in a similar sort of B2B space working with engineers who, just couldn't understand why I didn't want to show pictures of what I would call their shiny new black box, because
yeah,
it's a box or it's
yeah.
a thing, and to your point, I think that, it is all about, relationships, and especially certainly for ongoing sales, repeat sales, renewals, etc. It's all about the relationship, and relationship speaks to trust, right?
Yeah.
And also relationship speaks to the fact that I think, what you mentioned brings up the fact that you care about that person as opposed to the transaction.
I was just talking to a customer this morning, and I was trying to reinforce that with them. And I said, because if they feel that you truly care at helping them achieve whatever they have to achieve during their workday. So whether you're in metalworking and it's your product can help them manufacture the product faster or make it better. But if you understand their concerns, then they're going to be like, you know what, they really get me. This product must work for what I need. And you're right. It can't be all about, oh, I've got this great new product everyone must buy. It doesn't work like that anymore.
Benefits versus features thing. What are the benefits? And it's interesting you talk about that, because I often say my best clients are those who have done marketing but have been not getting the results they want, because to your point, you can speak to that emotion of disappointment, the emotion of fear of doing this again, emotion of frustration. Again, it all gets back to the emotions and the human brain. So
you're right. It's the emotion, and sometimes it's telling people, what would you respond to? Mm-hmm. That you really have to put that in their head, because like you said, yes, you're B2B, but there's still a human at the end making the decision. And just like people say, well, how do I get them to open my emails? How do I get them to pay attention to my social posts? Well, what do you pay attention to? And who's your target audience? Look at what they're looking at and then give them that type of content. And so it's very interesting. And I feel that COVID kind of pushed that all into the forefront and kind of rushed it along to getting people into the relationships, because there was so much digital marketing messaging going on out there. And the only way that you can break through the clutter and the noise of all the different messages is by taking that time and really understanding your target audience and giving them the information they need to make the decision to buy your products.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely on the nose there. And in a lot of industries that I saw formerly, or professionals I know, like, I could never do that, online. I have to meet with people one-to-one. I have to be able to talk to them and spend time with them. Well, you know what? They had to figure it out.
Yes.
And how to figure out how to form those relationships digitally and online. And in addition to that, I think about, working with all these younger marketers, and they're so digitally savvy and, video oriented. I think there was a whole sea change that, as you pointed out, just sort of pushed everything forward in terms of, more digital transformation, more of this. And, not that it ever will discount meeting one-to-one with people or going to conferences and events and having that in person. I honestly think now I kind of cherish those human-to-human interactions more than I did before. I think I took them for granted. And now I think of it as actually really getting to know another person, as opposed to, I think in the past, I may have been more transactional. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
oh, I totally, I remember going to trade shows, and my biggest thing was, how many calling cards could I get? And I know I'm doubting myself by saying, business cards or calling cards, but that was your big thing. And now I feel that when I go to events, I just want to sit and really talk to them. I want to get to know them better. And so maybe I don't talk to whatever, 50 people at the whole show. Maybe I talk to 20 or 10 even, but they're really good conversations that once we're back in the office, we're both going to remember the conversation.
Exactly.
So I agree with you there. So then my next question, which you probably already touched on, was what do you see as the biggest marketing challenge in the B2B and B2C space?
I think that the biggest challenge that I'm seeing is everyone has now gotten spoiled by personalization, the Amazons. You might also like, highly personalized experiences. And I think that if companies are not up to that, they're gonna be in trouble. And
if they don't do it properly. Okay, because we've all seen that. Everyone's trying to do personalization,
right? But here's the funny thing, and I actually have talked about this when I talk. I say things like, well, I can always tell the age of the person who's reaching out to me, or at least I could, as of 3 or 4 years ago, because the first thing would be, "Hey, Janet!" exclamation point. And my generation, it would be "Dear Janet," or Janet, comma. But I can always tell it's a millennial or a Gen Z because they start off, "Hey, Janet," and the first thing I hear is what my mother said to me when I was like 10 years old: "Hay is for horses."
Okay, I hear you. My mom said the same thing. So yes.
So to your point, if it's a person who's over 50, maybe you might want to drop the "hey" for your personalization and just say "Janet."
Yes.
But to your point, I think we've gotten so spoiled by good personalization that if it's not done well or done right, like, don't even bother. You know what I mean? It's like better than just to have it like
it could damage you more.
Because you can damage that first impression and that relationship. And I will tell you, the first year that I started getting "Hey, Janets," I just deleted them.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you don't really want to talk to me. Because if you did, you'd know that "Hey, Janet" isn't going to work. Right. But I did observe that this was the new way to start off an email. "Hey, Janet." So that's just one example, that personalization. I also think that I think companies are struggling to figure out the best way to break through the clutter, as you said earlier. And video is number one. I mean, you look at TikTok and Reels and those. I've spent hours getting lost in Reels, watching dogs. And so it's going to be, how do you break through the clutter? I will tell you that I started off my career in direct mail when people were getting a lot of mail, and now people aren't. And interestingly enough, I would recommend to companies things like direct mail. I used to say people need to read a postcard before they throw it out. So if you send anything on a postcard, it will get read. And people go, "Oh, that's actually kind of true." Yep. And even more
I just talked to a client about that, and he was doing TV spots. And we're going to take some of that money away from the TV spots because now everyone is, scanning over the commercials, and we're going back to a postcard that's going to be mailed to the people. But like you said, even if they get, and obviously this is just a piece of paper, but if they just get it, look at both sides and chuck it in the garbage, we've gotten more visibility than you would even from an email that can easily get deleted, right? Or a commercial that can easily be scanned over that you never ever see.
Yeah. So I think, between the personalization and the desire, that ongoing need to break through the clutter, and I see it again and again. Companies that are risk takers do better.
Yeah.
Those who want to play it safe, well, I mean, you can't.
Well, you have those bigger brands like a Google. Well, Google does direct mail. You have to think of it that way too.
If Google does direct mail, I'll never forget what my first one in the mail, I went, "Oh my gosh!" It's like Amazon is going to be opening up brick and mortar stores. Yeah. Because it's easier to do, same day shipments from locations. It's like, all these things that were supposedly dead, yeah, they're not really dead. They're just being reinvented.
No. And I agree with you. I think some of these older traditional marketing channels are definitely coming back. You know, our company was started as a list company. And so when I say about doing like a direct mail piece, if you get a good list that is specifically reaching your target audience, I don't consider any of that wasted money, because we're reaching that exact audience. They're definitely going to look at it, even if it is just to throw it out. They've at least read your name a few times and saw what you had to offer. I don't know. I think it's very good.
Well, I tell my clients, I mean, to exactly what you said. Okay, think about what you do as a business owner. Think about what you do. You know, do you open your own mail? Do you, you know, and make, you know, holding up the mirror to their behavior and saying, you know, people are kind of like you. I mean, not everyone, right?
Oh.
But if you start to make people reflect or observe of themselves and their actions, that's when you can say, you know, hey, well, you know, how many emails do you skip over? How many do you delete? Yeah. Don't you look at, and you're not even looking at the subject line, right? Like with me, when I delete my personal email, I'm looking at the from. I'm not even looking at the subject line.
Right.
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 So yeah.
Pay attention to that. Yeah. Pay attention to that. You're right. And just like when you're thinking about a direct mail piece, the quality of the piece also can dictate if the person throws it out right away. Yeah. And I think you were on our Bold Mind when they were talking about publications, magazines being digital only or print. And I did bring up, and I wish I still had it right here, but sometimes I get magazines that are such good quality. I keep it and I go through a few pages because one, it's beautiful to look at. And I have to tell you, I'm not looking at fashion magazines. I'm talking about industry specific publications. So International Bakery or Confectionery or whatever it is, it's an industrial publication, but I still read through it because it's such a good quality. And to me, that also gives validity to the company, that the company cares, because look at all the money they're spending. Just like a direct mail piece, if they're spending all that money, it's a true company at the address that they told you.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I agree 100%. 100%. I think that's so true. So, you know, print, everything old is new again. Print's coming back, I think. You know, it's a very good point. Having said that, I also know that I've gotten very results focused. So when it comes to things like magazine placement, ads, you know, if you put in big bold thing, use this code, call this number, get 30% off, and no one calls, then you need to know that you're doing a branding exercise.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you have to be very careful about what is the goal here.
Yes. Very important. Yeah. We always talk about target audience, know your audience, make sure you set out your goals. And even before that, I talk to companies like, what is your company mission? You know, make sure that everything you're doing is in line with what your company's mission is. Otherwise, everyone could be going off like this, and we really should be staying, you know, in one lane.
Being strategic.
So, yes, so important. So my third question to you is, I know you just launched your new platform, Marketing Career Mentor. And so I wanted you to tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. And thank you. So because I've been in marketing for so long, as I've gotten older, the marketing teams that I work with have gotten younger and younger and younger, to the point now where, you know, I'm that older person and younger teams. And I've been speaking about something that I call the digital divide, which is, you know, as people my age got older and older, they may have gotten more and more lazy about staying in touch with what's going on, or just, you know, knowing digital is important, but I don't need to know that much. So they throw it over the fence to the younger team to do, and the younger team understands how to do all those tactics and all the different channels.
I have to interrupt you just for a minute, because I have to tell you, I was with a man who was trying to hire a new marketing director. And I said, the number one thing I would ask them is, how do they stay current? So exactly what you're saying there.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, you go. Sorry.
No. How do they stay current? And who are they following?
Yeah.
Like I'm a big devotee of Rand Fishkin. I will read anything he writes, and I will try any service. Sparktoro is a new, So there are certain people that I am devout about following because they know, he was the father of SEO as far as I'm concerned, and that's important. But what's the problem now with all these younger people coming in and doing these digital boot camps and all these other things is they learn the tactics, they learn how to do the things, but they never learn why. What's the strategy? What's the goal? Or what's the outcome that we want? Do we want to go viral? Okay, but are we selling more widgets? If we're not selling more widgets, then you don't get any more budget. And that disconnect between the younger teams and what their activities were often, or their goals, and senior management and what their expectations were. So based on that, I found myself in the past 10 years doing a lot of mentoring and career coaching, in the sense that I was teaching these younger marketers, not, they know how to do the stuff, but, what is strategy? What do you need to know? You need to learn how to do strategy if you want to get to the next level, and what does that involve, and what are your goals and all that. So during the pandemic, I wrote this book, Okay Boomer, from all of my experience working with these people.
Yeah.
Revelations of a baby boomer working with millennials, because millennials and now Gen Z make up these teams that I'm talking about. And what I learned was, there would be this tension in this digital divide between the younger workers and the older workers. And I could help my peer group and say, this is what they need. This is how you can help. And I learned they don't really care. They don't think they're the problem. I mean, not always, but in many cases, it's like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm got to where I am because of they're the problem. They need to change.
Yeah.
Okay. So this marketing career mentor was set up to help them, right? So for these, students 18 to 22, or first jobs or interns, all the way through, maybe 6 or 7 years of experience, like, what are the challenges you have on your first job as a marketer, working with a team, reporting to a boss for the first time, understanding when you can expect a promotion. What does a promotion look like? What do you want your next level to be? Do you want to be a VP? Do you want to be a CMO? And all the questions that go with that from a marketing perspective. And so I've been answering these questions for so long and giving this advice. And every time I talk to it, turn into a therapy session with people always asking the same questions. So this platform is a way for me to answer those questions. I've done a whole bunch of videos and written out the answers, transcriptions, but also it provides a community for them to talk to one another, ask questions, is Facebook dead?
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Or Meta, excuse me. What are you doing now? What are you seeing? What are you trying? What's your stack look like? What tools do you like? What's working? What's not working? As well as getting interviews from other marketing executives about how they got to where they got. Sometimes our paths are very circuitous,
Yes.
and people need to know that sometimes you zig and you zag to get there. This whole ecosystem that I've set up for younger marketers is to help them network, meet with their peers. I do, live office hours to answer individual questions people have about, how do I do with my boss who blank, blank, blank.
Right.
So,
No,
that was the goal.
And I can see a platform for that being extremely helpful. One of the reasons I even started this podcast was similar. People just didn't know about the list side of getting a good quality list, or different things that are happening in marketing. And I just wanted these good conversations I have with people, usually on the telephone. I wanted it to get out there and have a further reach because the content was so good and so important.
No,
and
I think that's wonderful.
why, yeah, your platform seems perfect, because if you are starting out in marketing, and you're right, hopefully there are people out there who don't obviously think they're the best, who do want to look at different ways to enhance their career, but also to get other knowledge from other people who are maybe in different sectors. Like I'm mentoring a young lady now, she's in Kenya, but I'm teaching her all about the B2B marketing space because not a lot of people are taught the correct way to do B2B marketing so that it gets the results that they want. And marketing, we all know, has evolved so fast over the last few years. You know, even if you say you're current right now, guess what? Tomorrow you're already out of date.
It changes on a 24-hour basis. Yeah, no, and that's so true. I think that it's important for younger people to. Well, one of the things that I noticed was, right now digital marketers can see all those digital marketing jobs out there, right? E-commerce and Google ads and social media, etc. But there is this whole huge realm of corporate marketing that's totally hidden to them. Unless you get an MBA or you work at a Fortune 500 company, you don't know about things like internal communications. You don't know necessarily about marketing operations roles. I mean, there are all these different things that you don't even know about. So how can you even
getting
know
along with your coworkers?
Exactly. So it, part of this is to sort of, lift the curtain a little bit to show them, there's a whole world out there that you don't even know about. B2B marketing. Just in general, do they even know that B2B marketing exists? I don't know.
Well, I've been up at several colleges. I was up at NEDMA, the New England Direct Marketing Association, and the director of marketing at one of the colleges up there said, my students know how to go out onto social platforms and promote, but if they had to send an email piece or a direct mail piece to a list that they didn't own, they had no clue how to find these people. They had no clue how to target them. And so you're right, we all have a little bit of knowledge, just like you've educated me on different things. I might have educated you on different things, but you're always learning. And if you have a platform like what you're saying, it's a nice collaborative space to, and I said this to Joanne about Bold Minds, it's like your think tank. It's a safe place where you could go to ask somebody else there a question. They're not going to be judged or anything. They're just going to be given advice freely on how to proceed. And so that's why that platform is so nice for individuals.
Yes, good. All that.
Good.
Thank you.
So then my last question for you is, what do you think is going to be the biggest marketing trend in 2022?
I thought about this. I honestly think that, despite the fact that what Apple is doing, I think it's going to be more and more of phones. And I don't know about you, but I have started to get texts from all sorts of different organizations. And I think that really SMS, the texting, will become much more sophisticated. And I think that texting, I could have said a million things, but I chose one, and it was, texting. I also, and that's a marketing thing, right? How you do that messaging and do it well, and stop annoying me with you all. If I get one more political text, I'm going to have to shoot somebody. But
this is where, like when you say that, I talk to companies and like, oh yeah, we have social media going over here. We have emails going over here. We have a website. We have I'm like, has anyone sat down? Is there a cohesive strategy across all these platforms? And a lot of times they say no.
Well, and that's why I do what I do for a living. I mean, I do digital marketing strategies because what differentiates me from everyone else out there is I actually create the strategy first, and then we implement it, or you can have your team implement it. But being strategic, I mean, you mentioned this earlier, being strategic about what you do, saves you money, saves you effort, make sure that everyone's speaking on the same, everything from the same communication in terms of using the same language and the proof points and all those things to, is this working? Is this not working? Is this working better? What's the ROI here? And then looking at them all together and understanding, of your marketing portfolio, what's working, what's not working, and what haven't we tried yet that we might want to work into a pilot, a pilot project for. So it's I mean, do I think strategy is going to be the next big thing? No, I don't, because people have been ignoring it for so many years. I can't imagine 2022 is going to be any different. But that is a differentiator.
Unless more of us talk about it, because
it's really funny you say that, because I've been talking about it. I won't shut up about it. And then I saw an article written by someone who is, I will say, much younger than I am, who suddenly talked about holistic marketing and how you need to look at all your channels and see what all those channels are doing. And I'm like, okay, that's just another word for strategy.
Yeah.
So I think younger people are coming to this after, 10 or 15 years of doing marketing, but they're using different words for it. And it's basically just being strategic.
Yeah.
So
having a good strategic plan and then executing it. And then, like we all said, keeping your mission, the company mission in mind, having their strong why they're doing what they're doing, and then having those goals. And obviously we all talk about the SMART goals. And if you have that component, then you'll be heading in the right direction, which I get so nervous. A lot of companies these days, they look like branches on a tree. They're all out like this versus a straight line on a road. And they really should be a straight line on a road to be successful. So
yeah, and that's why it's so important. I mean, that's part of what Marketing Career Mentor is about, is teaching younger people to think strategically, because that's how you get to those higher levels. So as not to create those, branches that go all over the place, but to, be the trunk of the tree.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Be the tree.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to hold you too long, and I really want to thank you so much for this time with you. I know our time is all valuable, but I think this insight is going to be great for our listeners, and hopefully they'll all jump onto your platform and check out what it's all about. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for asking me. This has been great. I appreciate, the like minds, like you and I are on exactly the same wavelength. So thank you.
And that's a problem, because we could talk for hours and hours.
For hours.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the World Innovators Podcast. For more information about today's topic, email us at dpeterson@worldinnovators.com or call 860-210-8088. And please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode.